I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honors, and glories unto Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashim Makakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders and bishops that taught me this truth that we well. Shalom to the elect scattered through the four corners of earth. My name is Kodash Paya. And as you see here, these are U.S. Special Forces doing military training over there in California, right? In the midst of everything going on. You always had these military trainings go on throughout the United States for decades. You know, bases set up, certain states, right? But here it is, with everything going on, right? Especially also, I wanted to connect too with even using New York, because New York is it's a spiritual area, just like, you know, Philadelphia, just like, you know, during how they created 13 colonies or whatever, but it's spiritual behind everything, you know, and they doing these military drills on top of Google releasing statements on with the databases, also releasing millions of infected insects, right? Which could cause another potential lockdown. You know, and they planning on doing this summer, you know? But when you able to connect the dots, right, you can see the bigger picture like a puzzle. That's why I'm going to get this scripture real quick in the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 16, starting at verse 17. It says, woe is me, who would deliver me in those days, right? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, right? The beginning of wars and powers shall stand in fear. The beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? So these are the beginning of sorrows. You see, you hear wars and rumors of wars. You hear these different plagues, pestilences, famines that's about to erupt due to economy defects, right? Which is all a process gradually going on right now. People are not feeling it right away, but that doesn't mean that it's not fluctuating, right? Like it tells you in the book of, which says, victual shall be so good cheap upon earth, people would think to be in what? In a good case. Just like now, you know, till suddenly things erupt. Right? So why do you think they planning these drills? Why do you think they doing these drills? You know, training for what's to come. Civil unrest, civil war, chaos, anarchy. You see? And then on top of the data centers that they building up, that's all going to lead up to a new digital currency. Ultimately, because all roads lead to these final prophecies. So that's why you got to pay attention to little current events to know what it's leading up to. You filter it to the scriptures. You know? Because these things are not happening just to happen. There's a bigger agenda behind it. Ultimately, the Lord is orchestrating all this. But who he's using? The sword, as the scriptures say, which is referring to as who? Esau, the nation of Edom. Alright? So I want to, real quick. I want to play this real quick.
Sounds more like a war zone in the Middle East, huh? But this is Northeast Pasadena.
There would be flashbangs, gunfire, like rapid gunfire. He didn't tell me that our places would be shaking. It was bad.
She's one of a dozen neighbors or so caught right in the crossfire of this. Listen.
all the lights in the hospital were lighting because they were shooting, and they could hear people in there screaming. Now, I don't know who was screaming. Maybe it's some kind of simulated thing that they had in there. I have no idea. And explosions. I saw explosions. Yeah, and it was just nuts.
So as you can see, people are very upset. They got no warning whatsoever. Some are saying that they said they put a post on Instagram and they expected everyone to see it, or everyone to even have an Instagram for that matter. So a lot of people taken by surprise by this massive drill. Many people describe it just like that lady, as being just out of nowhere and kind of just wild and crazy. Military helicopters, simulated gunfire, flash grenades going off at the location that you've seen. She said she heard screams, and this freaks people out. This is part of the conditioning phase, if you ask me. We've seen this before. They did this in Florida. I believe it was Miami, Fort Lauderdale, some years back, swooped in, unannounced. Although some of these cities have drills every year, you've got to keep the people in the know. So the people in Pasadena, Irvine, Long Beach, we're geeked out about this. If you guys witnessed this, let me know in the comment section.
And this is another thing why, with Trump referring to as, narrow, where we know through history, where history repeats itself, he was into sports, entertainment, things of that nature, And he was the one that blamed the Israelites for the fire, when you know history, right? And then you had Titus. That's where 70 AD came, which was traumatic, if you know about it, towards you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which are the biblical Israelites. That was a heavy year into our nation, where they stole they stole everything, man. But the point I'm making is that this dude is going to the NBA game 3, but see how the infrastructure and everything, military policing this area, showing this is all exercising. And I'm speaking as a man. This is right here exercising the constitutions and the bills that they just passed. But they're using sports to make it seem like, oh, it's okay. But they're training the minds of the people how they react.
Listen to this. This is crazy. Madison Square Garden has military-grade security perimeters around it right now. Fans are being told to show up 2 hours early and go through TSA-style security checkpoints. Why? Because President Trump is attending the NBA Finals. First time in history a sitting president has attended an NBA Finals.
Yeah, and also, back in the ancient times, you had the Romans or whatever. They attend these coliseums. Seeing Jake being destroyed, or killing each other, boxing, whatever sport it is, man. Right? But, it's, hold on.
Perimeters around it right now. Fans are being told to show up. Listen to this. This is crazy. Madison Square Garden has military-grade security perimeters around it right now. Fans are being told.
Military-grade perimeters, right? Because they use these coliseums. They used to say, what they said in Rome, they said the bread and circus. They call these coliseums, these sports events, these stadiums, bread and circus. Why? Because it was to distract the masses around from what's going on behind closed doors, right? So people are so distracted with this, but then now it's all just cultural experiment, like my man Dabu said earlier, how it was experiment with this warfare, right? So say if there was just like this FIFA coming up, right? Say, and they used, because America wasn't a common team or whatever to join these worldwide, mainly soccer. That's the main one that's really global compared to all sports, right? But they'll use that to bring in the whole we are one agenda. Now, say if there was an incident, a T attack, if you will, what's that going to bring down? Martial law, things of that. Whatever. Blame a boogeyman, whoever. Right? But the point of the matter is, these are trial runs. They always been trial runs. But I'm going to get a precept in the book of Isaiah chapter 59 and verse 19. It says, no, Salaki, 29 and 19. 29 and 19. 59 and 19, forgive me. It says, so shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him. So the enemy is going to come in like a flood. Right? You even had troops called the flood troops. Right? When you ambush, when you come in as an ambush, you see, when people least expect it, but to the elect, what? The scripture say, what? The Spirit of the Lord shall lift up the standard against him. And when you read that in NLT, it means what? A way to escape these things. Right? Just like when the Roman centurions try to captivate Yahushua, and the Lord had him get up out of there. Matter of fact, let's get another precept in the book of Revelation, chapter 12. Verse 12, it says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. Right? So, they about to come down having great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. It's going to get physical. Forget about the talks, forget about everything everything you spoke on. It's all that faith, all the patience, everything. It's really, that's gonna lead to the hour of temptation, right? Now everything that we've been practicing it's gonna show. You see, right? And then they're speaking about certain things happening at the end of this year digitally. So we'll see what happens. But that's why the scriptures always say, watch and pray. So you got to know what to watch for and pray and be able to prophesy against it. There's so much things to watch for and to be distracted and confused by. But if the Lord is not supplementing you and giving you that eyesight to really, dissect between everything that's going on, then you're gonna get caught in the crossfire. That's why the scriptures speak about keeping your eyes single, staying focused, right? Like a man on a tightrope, Because what the path of salvation is narrow. There's so much going on. That's why there's so much death gonna happen, as the scriptures say. So don't follow these people, man. Don't understand, pray, watch, read the scriptures. And that's it.
To show up 2 hours early and go through TSA-style security checkpoints. Why? Because President Trump is attending the NBA Finals. First time in history a sitting president has attended an NBA Finals game. Now, here's the part Wall Street isn't talking about. The Knicks aren't the only thing that's hot right now.
Nah, he's going into, money and stuff like that. That's how they slide things in. I just wanted to get the beginning statements of what he had made. You gotta be careful with who you watch too, because they try to endorse other things by trying to bring in information like that, But regardless of the matter, they are bringing. Why would you bring military aid to a fucking sports event, right? Because it's all training. They're watching. They're coming. You know what I mean? Google is planning to unleash a swarm of 32 million mosquitoes in California. Scriptures speak about plagues that are not written in the book. You know?
Video is not AI. This was taken inside of, I think, a skid steer in Nebraska. And those are not flies, dude. Actually, there is some flies buzzing around out there. But the million little insects on the window, those are ticks. And this guy...
And those are the ticks that are genetically modified that they released recently that people have been recording or following them. People, fucking following them, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy, but anyway, I just wanted to bring this out real quick. You know, I'm going to let this play, but with that, I'm going to say shalom.
Back of all this, let me know if you've got any notifications, because other people said they got none, and that was the scariest part about it. And when it comes to psychological operations, that's how they conduct them. There's not going to be a large-scale warning. They're getting away with putting a little post on social media that most people don't see, and then conducting the operation, and then watching how people react, just like that woman, other people. It's all part of the process here, and definitely all part of their military training drill that they say here it could continue for years. They don't give the reasoning for that, but they say it could continue for years. They are going to have some big events coming up here, you know, Olympic-wise, FIFA, things like that, but just a heads up here. Again, if you guys experienced it, let me know in the comments.